This RealAg Radio podcast is brought to you by Pounce 384 EC insecticide from FMC. Get fast, effective control of striped and crucifer flea beetles and cutworms in canola with light, stable performance that lasts longer. Talk to your local retailer today.
It's time for RealAg Radio on Rural Radio Channel 147 on Sirius XM. RealAg Radio and RealAgriculture.com is your home for insight and analysis of the issues that are impacting your farm business. Let's get real and get connected with RealAg Radio. And welcome to RealAg Radio here on Rural Radio 147 to Sirius XM. Shaun Haney, your host here on this Friday edition of the show. Thanks so much, everybody, for making RealAg Radio and Rural Radio 147 a big part of your workday. It is great to be with you here on this Friday. And for the RealAg Radio podcast listeners, we're going to have a bonus segment today as well. We got Tyler McCann from CAPI, Lyndsey Smith and Kelvin Heppner from RealAgriculture. We're going to talk about a whole bunch of things that happened this week. Of course, we have what's going on in Iran. We've got Canada-U.S. trade relations. We've got a new executive director named the Grain Growers of Canada. The Canola Council of Canada has a new member. Well, what's old is new again. So we'll get to that as well. So a lot of things to chat about here on the program. If you have any feedback, you can send me an email, shaney@realagriculture.com. You can also call or text the RealAg feedback line, 855-776-6147. Should say Monday night on The Agronomist, hosted by Lyndsey Smith. They're going to talk about the weather and how weather impacts your agronomic decisions. So that's Monday night, 8 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Mountain Time. You can figure 7 o'clock Central, 5 o'clock Pacific, depending on which, there's all the time zones for you. Saskatchewan, I have no idea what you're doing right now. I think you're on Central, so you're at 7 o'clock. And Monday night, it's in prime time, and it is live, okay? You can watch on the Real Agriculture YouTube channel and participate in the live chat. Highly encourage you to do that. It's a lot of fun. This last week, they talked about sulfur. It was really entertaining, great, informative, fun show. There's some good laughs, some great insights, and lots of fantastic perspectives, not only from the experts that Lyndsey has, but also the audience as well. So please check that out. That's The Agronomist. You can also get CCA, CEU credits as well for watching it. Okay, let's pause there. We're going to take a break. And we're going to get after the RealAg Issues Panel. We got a full show today, a RealAg Issues Panel. It's going to be a lot of fun, some time, and we're going to break it all down for you back right after this.
Questions about the markets? Sanoa by GrainFox is your AI grain market analyst, ready 24/7 to help you make smarter grain marketing decisions. Ask about market trends, pricing signals, basis, or what today's moves mean for you, and get clear, instant answers. Get a free trial and special savings at grainfox.ca/realag. grainfox.ca/realag. Ask Sanoa. Get an answer. Take action. It's that easy. Get started now.
Since 2009, the Canola School on RealAgriculture.com has been providing relevant and timely agronomic advice to anyone involved in canola production. With over 15 years of video content on YouTube, the Canola School has been producers' go-to source for canola agronomy, research, marketing, and more. The Canola School is brought to you by BASF and Invigor Hybrid Canola. Check us out on YouTube or at canolaschool.com.
If you're serious about agriculture, RealAg's got you covered.
For over 10 years, we've listened to and shared what producers have to say about everything from policy to agronomy from coast to coast.
Keep up with the latest in Canadian agriculture at RealAgriculture.com through daily newsletters and check out our YouTube channel.
Thanks for joining us in the RealAg community as we continue to cover and serve North American agriculture.
Man, welcome back to RealAg Radio. It's now time for the RealAg Issues Panel here on this first day of spring. Yes, it is here. Well, it's here for some of us, but if you live in certain parts of North America, not so much. Let's bring in the panel. Up first, Lyndsey Smith coming out of a place where it doesn't feel like spring, Ottawa, Ontario.
It's never going to be spring. I've given up all hope. We were
never
so
coming?
close. It's never. No. Yeah, no, we're back to snow, and the forecast is snow and gray and maybe a melt, but no, it's stuck.
Do you think you'll just skip the summer? Because that's what happens sometimes. We get a little bit, like unseasonably one way. It feels like we kind of maybe skip a season. Do you think that's going to happen? Maybe a little bit? No? Okay.
I think we're going to go from this to like mud season and cold, and I don't know. I do feel for, and I know this is, a very important point, on the maple syrup side, we've hardly had even a decent run of a couple days that would make, at least for us, other parts of Ontario have been fine, but anyway, it's pretty gross.
What is the ideal temperature for maple syrup season?
So, as a Manitoban, I'm going to tell you all the ins and outs of maple syrup season. No, you're looking at, you want a bright, sunny, beautiful, +4, +5.
Okay.
And then nighttime temps of -5, somewhere in there. The issue is we have had a few plus temps, but it's been gray and overcast. And so you just don't get the run. You need that warm sun on the tree trunks to really get the sap rolling. So.
Yeah, well, earlier this week, I was in Concord, in Ontario, speaking at the Lucknow Co-op meeting, and it didn't feel like maple syrup season. It felt like a harsh Scottish winter. What it felt like. It was not
pretty close.
It was not maple syrup season.
Yeah.
Also joining us, Kelvin Heppner, coming out of Altona, Manitoba, where it probably feels a little bit more like spring.
Yeah, we've had spring arrive this week. We had almost a blizzard the other day, and then a couple days of melting. And this morning, walking between the barns, trying to not slip on the ice that froze again overnight, I actually heard birds for the first time.
Whoa!
This morning, so
getting there.
Sure,
birds?
There.
Yeah, that's a sign of some sort. You got to go open my book of old wives' tales. That's got to tell you something.
Maybe.
The Blue Jays
And
World
also,
Series win in 26. That's what that means.
We just need to talk about kettlebells. And then we have a lot in common with Joe Rogan and Pierre Poilievre because they talked about maple syrup yesterday on that famous podcast episode.
Okay.
They did.
Talk about kettlebells.
There's something about that picture where, anyway, we'll get into it, I'm sure. Also joining us is Tyler McCann. He is the managing director at CAPI. How are we doing today, Tyler?
I am doing well, Shaun. Great to be back with you all. And hopefully if we talk kettlebells and maple syrup, we can break those Joe Rogan audience numbers too while we're at it.
Yeah, it's been interesting. Well, that would be my bank account would look different. Much different. I would tell you that. Okay, this segment's brought to you by Oxbow. The latest innovation from New Farm. It's a versatile broadleaf in-crop herbicide powered by Duplasm technology. Oxbow is your workhorse on resistant kochia and other tough weeds. Duplasm technology. It just sounds like something that powered the Jedis, doesn't it, Lyndsey? It does a little bit.
It's a great word.
Powerful. Okay, lots happened this week. Some we will get to, others I'm not so sure, but we do know that it is the 1 year of Prime Minister Mark Carney. He has had quite the year. He had quite the election win a year ago. As I speak to farmers across the country, there's still like this, I can't believe that happened. We don't need to get to the how it happened, but more of the what has he done. One of the things that he has done is spend more time outside of the country than actually sitting in Parliament. Kelvin, does that matter?
I think it does matter, and I think it's actually one of the reasons why his approval ratings are so high in the polls is that Canadians view this favorably in terms of what he's doing on the national stage. Domestically, he's maybe not followed through on some of the big promises that he was making, especially a year ago and since then, but internationally, he's helping Canada punch above its weight again, I think is the impression that a lot of Canadians have of him.
Yeah, on the Line podcast last Friday, Jen Gerson had an interesting theory is that because he has brought some seriousness back to Canada from, in comparison to the prior 10 years, he's kind of reflecting a little bit of Canada's back and being taken seriously by the middle powers. A lot of that connects to that Davos speech. Thought that was an interesting theory. Lyndsey, how would you rate out of 5 Prime Minister Carney's first year?
Oh, that's a fun thing to do. Okay, so this is, I guess, it's not maybe my personal opinion. I think we have to look at, as a prime minister, the way I would rate a prime minister is, of course, how they've got done what they said they would, how they're potentially polling as far as what Canadians think. So if we look at those two metrics, Carney is doing very well. He's still in polling, does very well as far, especially over Pierre Poilievre. The Liberals still doing well. He has somehow attracted a whole bunch of people to cross the floor, which is quite significant, and is ever closer to a majority. So I mean, from that perspective, I think you'd say it's been very successful. From, as you said, the travel around the world of, Canada's, how people view us, some of our trade deals, those sorts of things, I think also positive. As far as back here at home, though, I think this is actually where, if we're going to be honest here, he's not in question period very much. He's not in the House very much. They haven't really done a lot in Parliament, let's say. And I think so if we're looking at the past year, that is one of those things that I think as we go forward is going to make a big difference, is what he actually ends up, what his government actually gets passed and moved through, and what he actually does here. And there are rumblings, I would say, and this is somewhat predicated on whether he actually ends up eking out a one seat or whatever majority. There are certainly questions and rumblings about Carney potentially circumventing some of the, process and these sorts of things to get some things done. And there are people that are starting to push back on that as well. And the fact that he's just not around when he's in Ottawa. So even when he's in Ottawa, he's not always necessarily sitting. So that will be a challenge, I think, going forward. So if, out of 5, let's give him a 4.
4?
Yep, I think.
Whoa.
Well, if we're going to use polling, and we're going to, I mean, he has a year as prime minister, and he's still polling as well as he is, and in fact has increased. People like him, so I guess that's a measure. Again, this is not me saying that I think everything he's done is great. I'm saying if we use those metrics, then I give him a 4.
Well, they have developed the widest lead, over top of the Conservatives, since the election. Tyler, how long can this honeymoon period last? Because it is a bit of an extended honeymoon period. Yesterday I saw a video. He's out running with the leader of Finland through a park. These are things that these sort of like those kind of when I saw that video, and great, promotes fitness, all those kinds of things, and he's got good relationships, and that really appeals to Canadians right now. But these are some of the things that Prime Minister Trudeau did. And he sort of ran out of runway at some point. How long can this honeymoon period last for Canadians, do you think, with Prime Minister Carney?
But I think, Shaun, it's not a honeymoon period, right? I think what it is a different world and a different condition kind of that he's operating in. And I think it's one thing you do often have this glow, but even before he was elected, if you look at kind of the conditions that started to change during the Liberal leadership race, largely as a result of what was happening in the United States, the way the U.S. president was talking about Canada, the reaction to the Canadian population, I think that the ground just shifted. And so I don't think it's right to think about this as a context of a honeymoon period. I think it is, how much longer does this frame that we're operating in today in Canada, where the majority of Canadian people are concerned and upset and angry about what's happening in the United States, and see Mark Carney is the best solution to that problem. How long does that carry on for? And so I don't think that that's a honeymoon period. And I think if you really want to look at what he's doing, you need to separate, I think, the politics. As Lyndsey says, he seems to have done very well on the politics. He has cemented the lead that the Liberal Party has today. I think he has broadened his appeal from where it was a year ago. I think on policy, largely people, he has this more kind of centrist position. He is appealing to conservative voters. He's appealing to NDP voters. There's a lot of talk about attracting floor crossers, but I think that the more interesting thing than floor crossers is that he's got conservative MPs and NDP MPs both coming into the Liberal Party. So I think he's done well kind of creating a policy message that appeals broadly. But I think his big weakness, and what will ultimately do him in if it doesn't change, is around delivery. And that is, a year later, I think we are now past, and this may be a honeymoon period or not, but now past the period at which kind of I think people will give him some grace and give him some room to say it takes time to get things done. But I think that there's a lot of issues around things still not getting done that are not meeting his language and his rhetoric.
Well, so I think you started out by disagreeing with me, but I think you came around to saying questioning the honeymoon period, because that's exactly
my point. I don't think it's a honeymoon period. I think any government takes time to change.
Okay, he is being given a massive pass on action. So in some ways, he is living up to the Canadian stereotype of people like us but not action. And so we are clearly showing we value other countries thinking we're great people, we're nice, we're back, all of these sorts of middle powers, we're all these sorts of things. But the action part on making movements and actually like putting us in a position to counter some of these threats that are out there, been kind of non-existent. And listen, I say a lot of complimentary things in my speeches about Prime Minister Carney. I think on the White House file, he is the person to lead us from a Canadian perspective on that file. No question. But I think we're missing some action, Tyler.
So I actually think if you look at the defense investments, kind of that ramp up of defense spending is a space where there is some action that's happening. Again, we don't get new submarines right away. We don't get new guns right away. They have to get built. I think if you look at this very expedited basis, it looks like they're going to make decisions on subs is an example of action happening. I think that shift on the foreign affairs, geopolitical, defense space is a space where I think we can talk about action. I think it is on the more purely domestic issues where, are there more houses getting built today? The statistics don't seem to point to that. I think there is action happening on the foreign affairs piece, but we cannot have an army that works, Army, Air Force, and Navy that works in a year. That is a multi-year process, and I think that's legitimate. It could still probably happen faster, but it's happening much faster and in ways that it hasn't happened in 25 or 30 years.
Yeah. Lyndsey, what do you think on this point? Do you think that, what would you like to see him move quicker on when it comes to the action file?
Well, I also want to know what Kelvin would give him, because I feel like Tyler didn't actually give him a number, and I did. So
Okay. Well, you know what? That's actually a really good point. No, thank you. That's a good point. Tyler, What's your rating out of 5?
So I'm going to give him 4.5 on politics. I'm going to give him a 4 on policy, and I'll give him 2.5 on delivery.
Oh, that brings down the average.
That does. Wow.
Okay.
Maybe you can't totally get into those Carney pajamas. Kelvin, how about you?
I don't know if I have a whole lot to disagree on. I think that the delivery is where it's lacking, and sure, it takes a long time to turn a big ship around that has been headed in a certain direction for a long time, and so I think the honeymoon period, grace period, is a lot of Canadians still have it, but how long it lasts, especially as our gas prices go to $2 a liter or wherever they're headed in many parts of the country now.
$1.65 I filled up yesterday.
Yeah, same here. Same here, and you get to Vancouver, and it's way higher than that already. So I think as our costs continue to escalate, as our tax bills continue to come in, as our mortgage renewals are more expensive than they were in the past, all those things will add up, and it's a question of when that, like Tyler said, when that surpasses the concern about the Trump administration's impact on the Canadian economy. That's when things are going to go sour for the Liberal government.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you this. Concerns about the Carney government delivering, I'll tell you who's delivering: FP Genetics. FP Genetics brings new seed genetics to Canadian farms, empowering growers to thrive in ever-changing conditions. Visit fpgenetics.ca and join thousands of Canadian growers who trust FP Genetics to deliver innovative, reliable seed genetics season after season. Experience the next wave with FP Genetics. We'll be back on RealAg Radio and the RealAg Issues Panel right after this quick break. The future of phosphorus fertilizers is Rhizosorb. Craig Dick, VP of Sales and Marketing for Phosphollutions, explains.
Rhizosorb 83090 is a next-generation dry phosphate fertilizer that replaces MAP or DAP. Rhizosorb technology is incorporated into traditional phosphate manufacturing, resulting in a finished granule that enhances phosphorus uptake, reduces phosphorus use rates, and maintains crop yields.
Preserve yield, optimize phosphorus, and reduce costs with Rhizosorb.
Peter Johnson at WheatPete, RealAgriculture.com. I'm the host of The Word, and I love doing The Word. I love the questions. I love the challenges. I love having to apply agronomics to all over the globe and areas outside of my normal jurisdiction. Also, I love the feedback the most, where growers challenge me, tell me about their plot results, help me to learn. The Word, absolutely the best part of my day.
As you look ahead to the next growing season, there's a lot to consider when it comes to your crop. You need every possible advantage available to you. The Pulse School on RealAgriculture.com has everything you need to make the best choice for you and your farm. On-demand videos with leading industry experts available anywhere, anytime. Go into the season confident and ready with the Pulse School on RealAgriculture.com.
Welcome back to RealAg Radio here on Rural Radio 147. Hey, for generations, Bourgault has led the world in air seeding technology. Built on innovation and agronomy first design, Bourgault delivers precision placement, smart data integration, and the productivity farmers demand. Bourgault, advancing farming 1 acre at a time. Make sure you visit Bourgault.com. They got some really great innovations, especially in some of those winter wheat states like Colorado and Kansas, the Dakotas, Montana. They are really making some inroads in some of those areas on top of some of the great market leadership they have had in Western Canada. So please check them out, Bourgault.com. Okay, we got Kelvin Heppner, Lyndsey Smith of Real Agriculture, as well as Tyler McCann from CAPI. Kelvin, we had some big news this week. Richardson, so I guess was it already the end of last week? It might have been, eh? Man, time flies.
Yeah, it was the very tail end of last week.
It was the tail end of last week. That's right. Yeah. Richardson's is back in the Canola Council after it was Friday, late Friday. Richardson's is back into the Canola Council. They have a board member and also back in membership. And we played the interview with Jean-Marc from Richardson's earlier this week. Did that surprise you that Richardson's is back?
Not totally, although they have tried to rejoin quietly. This is, of course, one of Canada's largest purchasers, processors, marketers, exporters of canola. So their absence from the Canola Council was certainly noteworthy when they left and withdrew their funding back at the end of 2017. So now, after a nearly 8-year hiatus, they formally rejoined at the Canola Council's AGM last week, and so we followed up and had the chance to speak with Jean-Marc Rouet about the decision. It sounds like some of the concerns they had raised with the Canola Council before their departure, the Canola Council has since addressed. One of those we do know is the agronomy staff. We talked about that last summer, where the Canola Council laid off the vast majority of its agronomy team, its extension team, and that was something that Richardson over the years had felt was duplication with services offered by the private sector. It sounds like there were some other changes. We don't know exactly the terms of membership fees, structures, that type of thing, what kind of representation Richardson has been assured of. You mentioned they have a seat at the board, but certainly noteworthy for one of Canada's largest crops, the association that represents that industry, to have one of the largest players in the industry back at the table.
Quietly is they tiptoed back, and just really very silent about it,
which was intentional. I believe both sides wanted it to be quiet and not make a big deal out of it. So the fact we're talking about it right now is probably already beyond what they would like.
Okay, maybe I'll just keep talking about it. So what I don't understand is why we wouldn't make a big deal about it. Like, I'm maybe I'm just out of the loop here, but I would think we would want to celebrate and talk about how one of the largest Canadian-owned grain companies and crushers are back in the council that represents the entire national organization. Why wouldn't we be like blowing the trumpets?
And following the Bunge Viterra merger last year, you could say they are the largest Canadian. And I guess question of whether Viterra was Canadian owned before that too, through Glencore.
Right.
Not necessarily, they wouldn't necessarily be, but it is definitely the largest Canadian player in the canola sector. So it's a good question. I think they just wanted to fly under the radar on this.
Canadian way.
I suppose. Two things though for me, because Shaun, I'm sure you're dying to know. I do find it a little bit like, wow, they must have really disliked the agronomy side of the Canola Council, because realistically, that seems to be what has sort of shifted them back into the fold, is that the Canola Council got out of the agronomy side of things. And to me, this shows a shift. The Canola Council then, to me, feels much more like the industry association, and essentially growers are out of the mix. Like
Really?
Yes. Like I see this as, and send your hate mail, send whatever. But
I think that depends on the funding structure, and I think that will have changed from before. That is where there will be changes that we don't know about. I believe.
See, but Lyndsey, do you think it's you? Okay, you said that like the agronomy issue was the cost overlap relative to how other agronomy work is being. It's not a case of not liking agronomy. It was more.
Well,
it was. This is a waste of money.
Well, they didn't like exactly that the Canola Council would be spending money on the agronomy side when, they viewed that as the other companies, them included, would have, agronomists of their own. But it does to me, and to Kelvin's point, we really will have to see sort of how the funding lays out and whatever. But to me, this is a shift, and it's one that I would say over time, I see where it becomes far more of that, for the value chain side and on the international side, and far less about the grower side. And there's probably producers who are very happy with that, to be entirely honest. We know that, the agronomy team paid for by the Canola Council was a thorn in the side of some growers as well, because they saw it as duplication and didn't see the value that they got out of it. But I do, to me, this is a shift towards the Canola Council being less of a full value chain and shifted more towards the sort of
I think I disagree.
The bigger players.
Yeah,
okay, good.
I'm actually
that.
a little bit amazed, but I'm trying to understand
Kelvin,
why you feel that way.
Okay, we'll see who's right.
I think if you look at the financial contributions and who holds the purse strings, it's increasingly favoring the checkoff organizations in a lot of these associations, and so I think it is actually the producer groups
in a lot of these associations, or the Canola Council specifically.
I'm speaking more generally, but I think in the Canola Council case too, even the last few years of the agronomy team, it was the provincial grower associations, I believe, that were funding the agronomy team. Mm-hmm. They were being funded from a separate line that was being contributed to by the grower associations. So I think those levy-funded organizations have increasing sway in this and also in the cereal industry in Canada, and having the grain companies at the table grants legitimacy, and like you said, they have the export context, the international marketing expertise. So you need them at the table, but I don't know. It feels like the pendulum is swinging towards the checkoff funded organizations to me.
So I guess I feel like we're going to see more divergence between the two. Is I guess what I'm saying is that we're going to see that's to flesh it out a little bit further. I could see the grower organization growing in its a bigger divide between the two, and more leverage on the grower association side versus the council itself.
Well, here's what I know. This must be a controversial topic because McCann has said boo.
I was just
he's hiding over there.
Yeah, he's very McCann can't
Quebec.
Keep his yap shut about anything, but he is very quiet here.
There were lots of facial expressions for everyone who wants to go to YouTube.
and again, just say that much to my surprise, agree with Kelvin on this. I think
one.
That's okay. Bring it.
The piece that I think I'm maybe the most concerned about with how Lyndsey framed this is that it's a bad thing that it's acting like a value chain organization. I think one of the continuing challenges that we've got in this country is that we do try and separate the divides that are there. And I think that actually we need associations like the Canola Council and the others like it to act more like true value chain organizations, and that better reflect kind of the fact that this isn't just farmers that determine things. I think that this, again, I think it's a really kind of a negative thing to Kelvin's point at Cereals Canada that we see the grain companies leaving that organization and the growers continuing to play more of that leadership role. And I know that growers are investors and growers through their checkoff dollars want to have say and influence, but I'm not sure that that's actually in the best long-term interest of any of these value chains to have these divides. They need to lean into being a value chain organization. They need the grain companies there, and they need to act like this is like a value chain, because that's actually how it works in practice.
I would like to just point out that I said it was change, and Tyler said that change is bad. So I do not make that distinction that change is inherently bad. I just said it's a shift and it's a change. Tyler said it was bad, so Tyler is anti-change. Let's just end on that note. Okay, moving on.
Well, again. Small C conservatives don't like change, Lyndsey. That is that's right. Part of it.
Yeah. But change is bad.
But I think that there has been a lot of change, and I think that if you go back to this divide, I often wonder how much of this in the Canadian context goes back, especially in Western Canada, the wheat board days when you had this kind of very distinct line between, in theory, the wheat board that was supposed to look after growers' interests and the rest of the grain value chain. But they need to find ways to work together and to find more common solutions. And it is worth acknowledging that it is different in the canola context because of the National Canola Growers Association that doesn't exist in the other grain sectors, and I think is a complicating factor of the Canola Council. But it is worth taking a minute and acknowledging the work that the Canola Council did do to bring Richardson's back into the fold. I think that, hats off to Chris Davidson, the CEO there, and the board and the rest of the team that made that possible. Well,
but a bit of a sidebar here, we have seen a period where the trend has been who's leaving X organization and the busting up part, which is, I guess has been the trend. But lately, you look GFO back in the Grain Growers of Canada, Richardson's back at the Canola Council. We've got a little bit of a momentum here on, okay, like how should we be aligned and what's best for the industry overall. That's been kind of an interesting reversal as well. We'll see if it continues or if we go back to more some of the bust up sort of scenarios and the leaving and the exits and things like that. Hey, we got to take a break, but CDC Evident Durum from Alliance Seed is the clear choice for plant 2026. It delivers high grain yield, strong disease resistance, and excellent in-use suitability. With CDC Evident, you'll set a new standard for durum performance. Learn more at allianceseed.com. Back on RealAg Radio right after this.
Until you've used Viatude fungicide, you'll never know what your canola crop is capable of. Engineered excellence in every jug, Viatude combines two powerful actives, Group 11 and 3, for best-in-class sclerotinia protection and superior resistance management by penetrating the plant and protecting against infection. Treat your canola crop to a healthy and productive season with Viatude. Ask your local retailer for more information.
Before you get back in the field this year, spend some time with the Corn School on RealAgriculture.com. Get all the information you need on hybrid selection, planting depth, crop inputs, and more from a wide range of industry experts. A massive library of video content is available on demand when you need it most. Spend your time outside of the field, inside the classroom, with the Corn School on RealAgriculture.com.
We are back here on RealAg Radio for the RealAg Issues Panel here on this first day of spring. Even though Lyndsey disagrees and has had to check her calendar a few times, she is not quite sure if we should be that optimistic. But the calendar says so, Lyndsey, so we got to roll with it. Listen, get instant answers to your grain marketing questions 24/7 with Sanoa. Sanoa is your AI grain market analyst, available anytime to help you understand prices, basis, and market trends so you can act with confidence. Start a free trial today and unlock RealAg listener savings by going to grainfox.ca/RealAg. Okay, we have a new executive director at the Grain Growers of Canada, Lyndsey, Bruce Burrows. What do we know about him?
So this is effective April 1st, which I always feel like companies shouldn't do that. But anyway, effective April 1. Kidding. Yeah, Bruce Burrows will head up Grain Growers of Canada. It comes from a very logistics background. So kind of cool. He was held leadership roles with the Chamber of Marine Commerce and the Railway Association of Canada, and previously held positions with Canadian Pacific in Canada and abroad. So based in Ottawa, and definitely brings the logistics side of the value chain into the fold, which is pretty cool. I will say he also worked with Tactics, which is spelled Tactix. And I will say that the only reason I know who Tactics even is because I was at an event in Ottawa and they had pads of paper, and I am a sucker for a good notepad.
Oh yeah, you were a doodler. You were a doodler.
I doodle. You'll see me doing it the whole time.
You do.
And oh my gosh. So anyway, that's my claim to my 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon there. Anyway, so we will see. So exciting news for the grain growers, and definitely brings the logistics side to the fold. So,
okay, so is that still actually a rule? 6 degrees of separation? Like, it feels like it should be like 2, 3.
Well, in this day and age, yeah. I don't know. We'll have to work through it in the bonus, maybe. See if we could connect Kelvin to Kevin Bacon.
Oh, you definitely could.
Okay, we'll try.
Well, I'm really close because my uncle has met Kevin Bacon, so I'm like right there.
You're right there. Yeah.
Does he even act anymore?
I don't know, but I follow them on Instagram because they have a little farm. He and Kira Sedgwick. So, yeah.
Well, same with...
and they're a lot of fun. Like, they're hilarious.
I was a big fan of Entourage, the show on HBO. And is it Adrian Grenier, who played Vince? He's a farmer now.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Oh, you're going to go Tom Green when you said.
Yeah, hey, he's in my neck of the woods. Yeah. he's in near Charlotte Lake. He's maybe an hour from me now.
Tom Green, also the man that gave Joe Rogan the idea to become a podcaster. They were very good friends.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That is there's a lot to say.
Tom Green had a talk show. There is a video. You can see the video. It's online. Where
I think Kelvin and Tyler are too young to know who Tom Green is.
They could be. I just remember what was the movie where he had the mouse and he was like they were on the road trip. Was it a road trip? Was that?
Maybe yes. I do remember that.
Yeah,
with Mitch.
Yeah. Mitch. Yes. Oh, God,
okay, anyway, see,
we are of the same vintage.
Yeah, we are. It's true.
Totally.
Anyway.
Even though you're way older than me, we are the same vintage.
Shut up. It's 2 weeks.
Okay, so speaking of Rogan, Kelvin, Matt Gurney of the line has been very critical. Well, not critical that he did Rogan, but he's basically saying year and a half too late. Poilievre is doing a series of things that are a year and a half too late. What are your thoughts on, obviously, the new PR campaign the Pierre Poilievre team is trying to undertake?
I wouldn't give it a full A+, but I thought it was all right, and I think positive for him. And sure, maybe he's not swaying a bunch of new voters in Canada into the CPC ranks that listen to Rogan, but it's been covered on CTV. It's been covered on CBC. We're talking about it now. Everybody's talking about this interview today, and since it happened, or since it went public yesterday afternoon. And so I think he's gained a lot of free PR here. He's broken into the news cycle in a way that he hasn't been able to in a very long time, and shared actual policy and looked prime ministerial and was standing up for Canada. There were some parts that I think our agriculture audience, we should be concerned about when it comes to things that they talked about in the interview, when it comes to glyphosate and canola seed oils and that type of thing, blaming processed food and nutrients in food being not what they used to be and that kind of thing. Really concerning when it comes to the Conservative Party's stance on those things, or uninformed leadership there. But I think the fact he wouldn't criticize Mark Carney on foreign soil, it showed class, it showed a level of professionalism too that I think maybe some voters in Canada haven't, the stereotype of him or the public persona of him, he maybe broke that mold a little bit with the interview. And so I don't know, doing it during the election a year ago, I think would have just fed that.
Oh, there's no way he could have. That
he was a Trump in the same camp as Trump and MAGA and all that type of thing. And that was not a way of attracting more votes in the election last spring.
So thank you for saying that, because I think some people have been critical of him doing it now, saying that he should have done it a year ago. I think they developed amnesia a little bit. There was no way that he could have done that before the election. Absolutely not.
No, but what I would say, what I do see from even the last 2 weeks of Poilievre, broader picture though, we see him actually doing interviews. We see him on Peter Mansbridge's podcast. We see him actually coming up with policy ideas, whether they're half-baked or not, like on the Autopack thing, whatever. So I think doing Joe Rogan a year and a half, no, would have been a disaster. There was no win in that one a year and a half ago or a year ago. So fine. But I think the tactics that he does seem to actually be listening to someone. So whether it's, the new people in his camp or whatever, he is definitely, the fact that he's doing interviews, the fact that he's, letting down this sort of attack dog thing and being more human and all of those things and putting some ideas out there, that is all that was necessary. It needs to be done. And that I think, you could say is a year too late. Sure. But I think doing Rogan now, great idea. We're all talking about exactly that, Kelvin. I don't know where Carney was this week.
He was running in Finland.
Well, do you know what I mean? He's not top of the
France and Spain, going back to things that he can do that Trudeau couldn't do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's what I mean, right?
You mentioned Peter Mansbridge. I have a Peter Mansbridge impersonation. You want to hear it?
No, I don't.
Well, I'll give it to you. Welcome to the Peter Mansbridge podcast.
I thought
you have to listen to that man at 4 times.
Okay, like in fairness, I listened to just about all my audio at least 1.2, 1.4. You're right.
4.
His is 1.6, 1.8 because it's just, and it's not like he ums and ahs to fill all that. It's just pausing. Like Peter.
Anyway, Tyler.
Anyway,
your
carrying
thoughts.
I think
Peter,
that they're, as is often the case.
About Pierre Polyev, not Peter Mansbridge.
Yeah, okay. I don't care about
I get it. Let's not compare audience numbers again, Shaun. You can laugh at Mansbridge all you want. But I think when it comes to Polyev, like there is this revisionist history that does go on with him. And Lyndsey talked about how he wasn't doing interviews. He wasn't putting policy out. That's wrong. Like, he was doing interviews. He did, before the election, did the Jordan Peterson podcast. He talked to a whole bunch of people kind of in that vein. It's not that he wasn't doing interviews.
There was like less
he was
than
putting
5
out
interviews
policy. He would put out these long 15-minute videos doing a deep dive into his policy. It's that he was at the time talking to a relatively narrow kind of audience through his podcast and his outreach and putting out policies that were relatively narrowly targeted. And that's why I think that you should separate him going on Joe Rogan today from him going on Peter Mansbridge and some of the other things. Like him going on Rogan does not seem to be a big change from what he was doing before. He was always kind of talking to that audience. The Mansbridge thing is different. I think he's talking to a different audience today. I think he continues, and he's always put out policy. I think his policy is not always been as well thought out, maybe as it could be. It'd be nice if he put out some ag policy at all.
So I think you're
remember that, but
I think you're thinking really domestically, though. Like, one of the big criticisms about Pierre Polyev is that he is very insular. He is very he isn't prime ministerial because he really has never goes on foreign trips. He's finally he has changed that as of late.
Shaun, you started off criticizing Mark Carney for being too global and too foreign, and now you're criticizing Pierre Polyev for not being global or not being foreign enough.
Somewhere in the middle, I think, is ideal.
Yeah. And also, it's his show. He can do what he wants. But I also think that, Tyler, you're confusing opinions with policy. Pierre he spouted off in that last campaign. He was all about opinions and catchphrases and alliterations, and I didn't see
Lyndsey,
anything on the policy side.
You need to look beyond that. You go back and you can see again. He that is arguably one of the criticisms of him is that he gets to be too wonky on some things. Again, he's had these like 15-minute videos on housing and his housing solutions, and
that that 15-minute video. Also, what's exceptional about him in that case, Tyler, one take. That is not like an edited video. Like, he's making those videos in one take,
and he can put kind of policy nuance into the sound bites that seems to drive Lyndsey so crazy. But that ability to do both is really important.
Where is the ag platform? Like, honestly,
I don't know.
No, like, and even now, like, this is my appeal to Polyev's buddies, to the base, to every card-carrying conservative out there. We have no ag policy coming from the conservative side. If anything, we have anti-ag policy.
That's
exactly.
Right.
Thank you, Kelvin. Kelvin is right. Everyone listen to Kelvin. He's smarter than I am. But get out there and get something started. Because so far, the new stuff I'm seeing from Polyev is picking autos over ag and, in fact, maybe hurting ag. So everybody out there, call your person whatever and get something going. Because I disagree at least on the ag side, there's zero policy out there that I can name or point to.
And there are a lot of farmers in that conservative caucus. I'm wondering what they are thinking as they watch some of these announcements and these these messages from the leader.
Yeah.
And again, on the trade front, the fact that we've got the Liberal Prime Minister hand in hand with the Saskatchewan Premier in China opening up markets for Canadian canola farmers, and Pierre Polyev basically saying, I'm going to put all of that Chinese market access at risk by locking arms with the Americans. And it is a very bizarre world to understand why the Conservative Party does seem to take for granted that conservative base.
And let's remember, too, the key reversal here, all of those things were working for Pierre as in relation to beating Trudeau.
That's right.
Once Trudeau stepped down, President Trump entered the White House, the cards really stacked up against Pierre, and so all of those things that they were doing weren't as effective as they were in the prior. So change of the White House and who's in the White House has definitely impacted not only
Shaun is agreeing with what Tyler was saying earlier in saying that the ground shifted, the ground changed.
None of us have a clue, guys. we're all just walking each other home.
Hey, we got to take a break. We'll be back on RealAg Radio right after this.
I'm Lyndsey Smith from RealAgriculture.com. Join me Monday nights for The Agronomist, a 1-hour live and interactive show broadcast across YouTube, Facebook, and X. Monday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern, I host expert agronomists from all over the country to give you answers to some of the toughest agronomic questions. Join us live or catch the replay Tuesday morning. That's The Agronomist with me, Lyndsey Smith, Monday nights live at 8 p.m. Eastern.
Hi, I'm Bernard Tobin, host of the Soybean School on RealAgriculture.com. Throughout the year, on the Soybean School, we'll bring you timely agronomic video content from planting to harvest, from the latest agronomic research to the latest in production technology. Check out our massive video library on YouTube, RealAgriculture.com, or download the audio podcast versions wherever you get your podcasts. The Soybean School is brought to you by Mazik Seeds and Lalamon Plant Care.
Welcome back to RealAg Radio. The commercial breaks could be its own like little podcast, but then it wouldn't be quite as fun. But good times here at RealAg Radio and the RealAg Insights Panel, or Issues Panel, I should say. Sorry, we should have called it the Insights Panel. That would have been more on brand, maybe. Lyndsey Smith, Kelvin Heppner of RealAgriculture, as well as Tyler McCann of CAPI. Now, Kelvin, yesterday, all week we've been doing a news segment in the bonus. Okay, which I am quite proud of. We actually did it. Talk about it all the time. We actually did it. So yesterday I read a story that I think really you can shed some light on. And it has to do with, obviously we know that there's a huge demand right now for protein. But there was a story in the Wall Street Journal that talked about how chicken thighs are like hugely on the rise when it comes to demand. Now, usually we talk about chicken wings. And for a lot of consumers, they're buying those big boxes of chicken breast, but the once overlooked this once overlooked dark meat in favor of white meat, chicken thighs are now gaining popularity thanks to their flavor, versatility, and lower cost, especially as beef prices remain high and protein demand is really in vogue. Have you been hearing about this at some of your poultry meetings?
I'd say we're starting to see it. Yeah, it certainly is a positive trend, and it's because of that affordability issue and people wanting to get their protein and knowing that chicken is a good lean protein source, and so those thighs are a lot cheaper than that box of chicken breasts or that styrofoam packet of chicken breasts at in the meat counter. So yeah, it makes sense, and I think social media has got a part of that too, and to have people know how to prepare different parts of any animal. I think that's great to have societal knowledge about that type of thing. So it's good news.
We eat a lot of chicken thighs.
I think everybody's just really far behind. That's like, who's been able to afford chicken breasts these days? I've been only buying chicken thighs for years. I'm way ahead of the curve. You should follow me for more. I don't have enough money for groceries.
Yeah. Me and my, not only my agricultural insights, but also my culinary tips.
Yes. How to save money.
Yeah, that is.
They do taste better, though. That's the thing.
You're not alone.
They do taste better.
Exactly. I'm not alone on this. They have lots more flavor. They're usually cheaper. Although what's going to happen is the same thing that happened to chicken wings. Because right now, to try and buy chicken wings is astronomically expensive, and they're worse than they used to be because everybody wants chicken wings. So it is kind of nice. And to Kelvin's point, I do agree to let's make, a certain other cut popular again. And then maybe chicken wings will be more affordable in the long term. I doubt
the brisket,
or flank steak. Remember when flank steak was super cheap? Not anymore.
Yeah,
you can.
Even things like the flat iron.
Yeah, that's true. Anyway, but hey, use the whole animal. Have a great time. Yeah.
And the good news, Kelvin was telling us about how it's all automated in the poultry business before we started to record. So it sounds like it's easy.
In Tyler's mind, it is, but the robot is very human still.
The robot's name is Kelvin in Kelvin's barn. Yeah.
Make a lot of human errors.
Yeah. Anyway.
But you talked about kind of the affordability issue. One of the things that is getting a lot of talk in Ottawa that will see the light of day apparently in April is a new food security strategy. And it's interesting to see kind of how people are trying to reconcile those affordability, legitimate concerns that Canadians have with kind of dynamics in agriculture and food. Often the links aren't the same, but it is something that's getting talked about a lot more today than it was a month ago before the PM committed to this strategy, and it'll be interesting to see how they do kind of square this circle at the end of the day, because politically they are feeling that pressure that Lyndsey alluded to earlier. People can't afford chicken breasts, so they're buying chicken thighs, or maybe can't afford to buy any of that at all. And this is like a bigger thing, and I'd be curious to see what kind of an impact it actually has.
Right, but also, I think for people that have maybe been driven to try something like chicken thighs because of affordability, they also realize, like we did in our house, actually like the taste better. From a personal preference standpoint.
So I want to back up a little bit here, because I think there's a lot more that we will eventually dig into, as Tyler alludes to, in the coming months. Canada is an interesting food security question, right? Because we're only 40 million people, and we could talk about that for the first time ever. We actually had a population
decline.
Of about 100,000 people at the tail end of 2025. But Canada is an interesting spot because we are a smaller market. I think Tyler can speak to this, but I don't know that we've really supported our local processing to the extent that we probably should have. But we are an export country, and that is super valuable. But I don't think those things are fundamentally opposed. But I feel like we've done a poor job maybe of supporting our local, and by local I mean domestic. I'm not saying backyard farmers. I'm saying like our domestic production systems. But at times we've also thrown our exports under the bus. Like we've done poorly at both. Is my point, I guess.
Yeah. Well, go ahead, Tyler.
So I was going to say, it's interesting, Lyndsey, your point, because my understanding is that there's kind of three buckets that are being used to think about this food security strategy. One is around food security, food insecurity, kind of more of that traditional, can people eat? And there are issues with that in this country, although not largely food issues, but income issues. The second one is around kind of food supply issues. So do we actually have the domestic processing to produce as much food as we can? And how do we look at ensuring that we've got a more stable, secure food supply? Again, there are issues there. We often take it for granted, but there's things we can point to over the last 5 years where we have potentially had some issues. And the third is around kind of Canada as an agriculture superpower, and what do we do to kind of lean into more of that space there? But I think that, again, they kind of highlight the three different ways that we could be thinking about this issue, and you need to do different things to deliver on those three outcomes at the end of the day.
And we cannot forget about feed, fuel, and fiber as a part of this discussion too. I just continue to hear us going down a narrow lane of food, which is important, critical. But agriculture does a lot of different stuff, and I think we're cornering ourselves. And I said it before, and I'll say it again. Hey, we're out of time. Okay, we're gonna have a very quick bonus here because we said we're going to. Tyler, thanks so much for joining us here today.
Great to be with you, Shaun.
That is Tyler McCann of CAPI. Lyndsey Smith, all the best to you.
You as well.
And Kelvin, keep on producing those chicken thighs, buddy.
Thank you. And I want to also give a shout out to the Grain Challenge hockey tournament. 60-ish teams from the ag sector playing in Winnipeg this weekend.
Wow.
Grain industry, railways, farms, all aspects of the grain industry represented. So cool. Shout out to all the people.
I've never played in it. Never played in it. Okay, if you have any feedback, send me an email, shaney@realagriculture.com. Thanks, everybody, for getting real and getting connected on RealAg Radio. And for those of you listening on the RealAg Radio podcast, keep listening because we got a little bit of a bonus segment. Thanks so much, everybody, for getting real and getting connected with RealAg Radio.
Thank you for downloading this RealAg Radio podcast, brought to you by Pounce 384 EC insecticide from FMC. With proven performance across multiple crops, Pounce 384 EC helps you stay ahead of pest pressure and protect your crop investment. Talk to your local retailer to learn more.
Okay, we're here on the bonus segment, and no, I am not begging.
Play?
I am not begging to play.
I'd be a really good like somebody on the bench. I could hand people water or their sticks. Yeah, I could do that. I'm good at that.
Yeah, I can see you being like a bit of a coach that's like given like you're just like.
But I have no idea what I'm doing. Yeah, exactly. I'm super good at being critical, so that'd be great.
Hey, there's a lot of parents that are coaching minor hocky teams that don't have a bloody clue what they're doing. You would fit right in.
That's right. Some of them do it from the stands. Anyway.
No, I'm one of those parents from the stands who has been known to encouragingly shout "skate" during the game.
Moving, child.
That's about the extent of my knowledge.
When we had Calgary Flames season tickets, there was a guy that sat 3 rows behind us that all he yelled all game was "Hit him!
The whole
Hit
game.
him!" The whole
Can't check that with 11-year-olds, Shaun.
Shoot!
Skate.
Oh, like, because some guy's on like a 2-on-1, and some guy in section 215, row 17 is yelling, shoot. Oh, I better shoot. Like,
yeah. Oh, good. Yeah. Don't go to games with Chris, Shaun.
Is he that guy?
He has far more colorful things to add, but he just shouts the whole time. Like, the only time he's going to lose his voice is after a game. Yeah.
He's yelling stuff from the nosebleeds, isn't he? He's that guy.
Absolutely. It's all for the crowd effect, though. Like, he knows it's not getting to the ice. It's to get your section, going.
I saw some data today in the Globe and Mail. Canada is now the 25th happiest place in the world.
Yeah, we dropped, I think, didn't we?
We did. We went from 18
to 25th. And who won? Finland? I say win. Like
producer Trish here is saying I said that wrong.
Oh
no. We are. Well,
we ranked 25th out of the happiest nations.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Yes, I said it correctly. Yes.
Yes. There you go.
It's just depending on how you phrase it. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
And again, like it's quite something because I don't think it's hard to blame Canadians for feeling maybe a bit down. It's been a tough year, lots of bad things going on. Mm-hmm. But whenever the Finns and the Nordic countries still rank up there, and like they are within bomb distance from Russia, and they've got real secure issues when they are reinvesting in bomb shelters in these countries, and yet they still figure out how to be happy. Maybe there are some things we could learn.
It's because they have saunas and they cross country ski and they eat a lot of fish.
You forgot about the drinking. You Finns? The Finns. Do you have any Finnish friends? Go ahead, Kelvin.
Our Canadian numbers, it's the 35 and under crowd that can't and don't have a job. That is, it's hard to have a meaningful life then, and I think that's really weighing on the Canadian numbers now.
Yeah, which people who can't find jobs.
And I don't want to go back to Polyev. That was actually one of the clips I saw of the Rogan interview, is where Polyev talked about having we need to make sure that people have a meaningful life. One of the things the article talked about that I read about this data is this, again, questioning the young Canadians' use of social media and how that is impacting people's overall happiness and utility. When I read it, one of the numbers I have in the presentations lately is this Daryl Bricker number, where 48% of Canadians under the age of 30 see opportunity elsewhere and don't want to leave the country. All of this kind of is a part of this, which is I think it's this is the stuff there's no easy solutions, but this is the kind of stuff that I think should really concern not only Canadians but also the government.
Certainly around AI policy as well, because a lot of starter jobs are the ones that are affected by AI, potentially not hiring, and the immigration numbers haven't. That's where the influx of temporary foreign workers is also taking away jobs potentially, and there's a lot of things, and government is trying to turn the ship on this, but it's hard. That's a big part of why Canada is declining in that number.
Yeah.
Well,
and we have this divide in society too, where the older, wealthier people have done well in the markets the last couple of years and that type of thing. And so it's not good for society to have people headed in two directions at this rate.
Youth unemployment's 16%? Is that correct?
Yeah, it's as high as it's been in a long time. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that for a long time there was this impression that when you talk about AI and automation, it was going to be those factory jobs, or maybe Kelvin's chicken barn job that was going to disappear. But actually, it's not that, right?
No.
Or they may disappear one day, but what's happening in the meantime is you're wiping out tens of thousands of jobs in IT and tech. I don't know anything about coding, but you hear these stories about you don't need a human coder anymore. That these AI systems can do it.
There are,
and so what does that mean? What does that look like? How does that impact the fabric of the country? As a challenge.
One of the big questions I've had is if we eliminate all the junior positions, junior copywriters, junior paralegals, junior coders, that's great for the senior people because it makes them more efficient and there's more margin there. Where do the future senior people come from if there's no juniors? That's the thing that I don't think people talk about. I use AI every day, so I'm not anti-AI whatsoever. Probably I'm probably using AI more than the whole entire panel. So that's a question I have. And, I can't remember if I told the story in the air. I got a friend that's a lawyer, and both of his kids wanted to become lawyers. He's convinced both of them to not enter law because he sees so much disruption. And what is the future of lawyer rates in the future, what that economically looks like for lawyers because of the use of AI and what he sees happening inside the firm. So that gets your attention.
And again, I think it's worth highlighting, like that is different than some of the experience we've lived through in the ag sector, right? If you look at a robot going into a dairy barn, I think most dairy farmers that have robots in the barn will tell you that it's shifted their work, but they still need to be there. They still need to do the work. It's just given them new tools and changed what they do during the day. That is not what is happening in some of these other industries. They are just eliminating the jobs and they are just replacing people. And so even if you get into this world with autonomous farm equipment, you still practically need to be there. Maybe you've got some HR savings, but I think we're a long way from this world where the need for farmers disappears and we're going to be replaced by machines. Yeah. But again, I think if you're a paralegal, well, there's a chance that large swaths of that could disappear. Or if you're an accountant, I think accounting, right, is one of those spaces that seems to be kind of low-hanging fruit for AI replacement.
Yeah. This is also where, like, I take it then a step back even, or before, depending on, or forward, depending on who you're talking to. Like, right now, our colleges and universities are also going through a major flux of, losing international students and all those sorts of things, in which, we're going through this here in Ottawa, where we've had one of the main colleges essentially axe 40 different programs. Like, our education and our training systems are going to have to adapt to essentially account for this, a huge shift in what the workflow demand is going to be. And also potentially, how do you attract people into those sectors that still need people and that job isn't going to be replaced by, because ultimately these weren't jobs that were necessarily as attractive. And I mean, that has been a long-standing sort of issue of saying, like, go into the trades or go into the whatever.
Oh, yeah.
People don't necessarily want to. And maybe that's because they have preconceived ideas or whatever. But realistically, as I do love the memes of AI's coming for your job, and it's like, I'd like to see AI get a silage wagon stuck. So, like, these sorts of things of like, sure, go ahead. But I mean, it is an incredible disruption in the types of jobs and roles there will be demand for. And how do we make sure that the people who are looking for work will know and could access training and et cetera to get into the jobs that will still exist and or have increased demand? So ultimately, this could be a really great thing for agriculture in that there might be a whole bunch of brilliant people that are looking for somewhere to use their brain and it becomes agriculture. But how do we explain what they could be doing and attract those people? I think that's a question we've all had in this industry for a while.
Well, producer Trish is giving me the
it's time to wrap it up.
I got to catch a flight.
Wrap it up.
So shocker, got to catch a flight. But I could stay here. There's so much I want to talk about. We didn't even talk about Iran today.
Well,
or the fact that Chuck Norris has died.
What?
Just
breaking
now?
news during the show.
Chuck Norris died.
Yes.
Oh man,
no!
Look at you.
Well, he's the only one that could have saved the whole Iran conflict. So
is Chuck?
What can't he do? Anyway, apparently beat death.
At some point we're sending in Dennis Rodman here, I think.
Oh, yeah. All right. That sounds like fun. Anyway, okay. Well, that's sad news. Thanks, Tyler, for ending on a downer note. That's great.
He's been in a lot of commercials lately. What is he? Didn't he have he had a fitness video, of course, but wasn't there just some sort of product he was?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
We watch different things. Okay. Go catch your flight.
That is clear. Okay. I want to thank everybody for tuning in here to the RealAg radio show today in the Issues Panel. If you do have any feedback, we would love to get your emails. We got a couple good emails. Yesterday, Lyndsey and I got a long email. We got to talk about that at some point on the weekend. But it was very well thought out, so I appreciate the feedback. Haney at RealAgriculture.com. Have a great weekend, everybody.